Hawks win! Hawks win 3-2 over the Montreal Canadiens in overtime on number 65, Andrew Shaw night. Yes, tonight in the United Center was Andrew Shaw night. And the Hawks get the victory for Shawzy, the Mutt, the two-time Stanley Cup champion, with one of the greatest goals that never was, a headbutter that should have counted. But this game was an interesting one. The first period of play was all Chicago Blackhawks. Second period of play, it was all Montreal Canadiens. Third period of play, it was back and forth hockey. And in overtime, the Hawks barely had possessions, but we get the victory with the strangest way of figuring out you have a overtime victory, because the goal was reviewed twice tonight, but it was still a good goal. This game tonight by your Chicago Blackhawks was a fun one to watch, knowing that it was Andrew Shaw night for your Chicago Blackhawks. Knowing that he was there in the building, a two-time Stanley Cup champion, a fan favorite, the Mutt, Andrew Shaw. He's left it all out on the ice, and he got to come home into the United Center being honored for what all he was able to accomplish as a Chicago Blackhawk. And, well, he also played for the Montreal Canadiens. So he kind of got honored in a way where the Blackhawks did it right by doing it against the Montreal Canadiens. But you know it. Shawzy's a Hawk. He's no one else. He's a Blackhawk. Shawzy was there and honored by a great video, and then had a speech before puck drop. It was a good way to honor a fan favorite to the Chicago Blackhawks. And even Montreal Canadiens. He was a fan favorite there. But he's always going to be a Chicago Blackhawk. This game, though, as I mentioned, let's get into the game. It was an interesting one. The first period, as I mentioned, it was all Chicago Blackhawks. They were moving the puck well. They held Montreal to just a couple shots on net. Montreal had their first shot with almost 5 minutes remaining in the first period. That's not good. Then the ice flipped. And in the second period, it was all Montreal Canadiens. Hawks were looking like the Canadiens in the first period, and the Canadiens were looking like the Blackhawks in the first period. It was a strange game by how the ice was just completely tilted. Then in overtime, in the third period, it was more back and forth hockey. Ice really wasn't tilted in one way. It had a little bit of ice tilt when the Hawks were able to tie it, but then Montreal was able to gain momentum, have a chance, but couldn't prevail. Then in overtime, I still disagree with Derek King in doing this by not starting a centerman in overtime, starting Alex DeBrincat, Patrick Kane, and a defenseman. This time it was Eric Gustafsson. Usually it's Seth Jones, but Jones is out with COVID protocol. So the Hawks lose the faceoff, and they were basically playing defense for about 2 minutes of the overtime. And then we get the strangest way of ending an overtime tonight. So let's look at the stats of the game, shall we? As I mentioned, the Hawks and Habs were playing back and forth hockey during the third period. That's it. Otherwise, it was either ice tilted in one way. Face-off percentages, it was 54% to the Habs, 45% to the Hawks. Yeah, not a good night at the dot for the Hawks, but again, they are never good at it. Power plays, the Habs went 1 for 4, and your Chicago Blackhawks also went 1 for 4. Penalty minutes. As I mentioned, they both had 4 power plays, each scored a power play goal. Montreal had 13 penalty minutes, and the Blackhawks had 23. Ryan Carpenter gets a 10-minute game misconduct because he went after Alex Romanov, who laid out Sam Lafferty that ticked off Carpenter enough where he dropped the gloves, got instigator, and 10 minutes. So it happened. The Hawks gave up more penalties, which is weird for the last couple of games. The Hawks were pretty well disciplined. This game they were not, especially in the second period. So let's look at shots per period. It was 3-13 in favor for your Chicago Blackhawks in the first period, 17-6 in favor for Montreal in the second period, 8-11 in favor for your Chicago Blackhawks in the third period, and 1-1 in the overtime. And our shot was really not much of a shot on net. I will mention that. So let's get to the goals of the game, shall we? Where I mentioned this game, it was a strange one as ice tilt was a big factor in this game, but it really led to chances one way, and that was about it. And then the overtime was just the weirdest overtime goal I've seen in a long time. So in the first period, the Hawks were playing well. They were playing strong offensively and defensively, holding Montreal to just 3 shots on net. And, well, they were gifted at 7 minutes and 42 seconds in the first period. Scored by number 8, Dominic Kubalik. His 7th of the season, assisted by number 19, Jonathan Toews. And number 61, Riley Stillman, to get the Hawks on the board. This goal was great because Jonathan Toews gets the puck in the neutral zone, sees Kubalik cherry-picking enough. He gets it up to Kubi, and Kubalik is on the races, and he goes in 5-hole on mountain ball for the Hawks to go up 1-0. After that, no goals were scored in the first period, but the Hawks were having more chances. They just couldn't find the back of the net. So we go to the second period, Hawks up 1-0. So in the second, this just seemed like a complete flip of the script. The Hawks were outplaying the Habs in the first period, moving the puck well. We go to the second period. Montreal comes out with momentum, steam, and anger they had to have had because they were coming out fiercely to try and tie this game up. They were battling in the offensive zone for themselves, getting some chances off. Flower was making some big saves to keep the Hawks with the lead. And then this happened. The Hawks lose a face-off at 12:41. Jeff Petrie scores his first of the season, and it was assisted by Arturi Lehkonen and Alex Romanov to give the Habs their first goal of the night. They tie it up. They continue their momentum. And the penalties start coming. And, well, the Hawks killed off one. Penalties still continued to roll in. And, well, Carpenter gets sent to the box. Well, to the locker room, basically, because he gets a 10-minute misconduct, a fighting major, and 2 minutes for instigating. So Montreal gets a power play. And at 18-16 in the second period, Mike Hoffman gets his 5th of the season. This was assisted by Cole Caulfield, and Sherratt of the Montreal Canadiens. And, well, the Hawks now are down. And they look down. The Hawks were bad this period. They were not doing much. They were undisciplined in this second period. It led to Montreal having a whole momentum of the period where they were moving the puck well, getting their chances off, and they get their second goal of the night. Luckily, that's their only goal of the night. So we go to the third period. Hawks need to tie it and get back with this game where they have control. And, well, they come out and get control because the Hawks get a power play early in the third period, and it's at 2:21 in the third period. Scored by number 88, Patrick Kane. His 8th of the season. Assisted by number 56, Erik Gustafsson. And number 12, Alex DeBrincat, to get the Hawks tied back up 2-2 game that Kaner finally gets on the board after a 13, I repeat, a 13-game goalless drought. Kaner finally finds the back of the net. You could tell that goal kind of lifted him because the smile on his face was priceless. The Hawks are tied. Kaner gets on the board. He just throws it on net, kind of fakes out Montembeault because on this power play, the Hawks were clearly trying to feed Taves, but what happened here, Kane gets the shot off. Montembeault, okay, assumed it looked like that it was going to Taves right in the doorstep, but it didn't. Kane just threw it in past Montembeault to get the Hawks tied up on this power play. Then there were a couple other opportunities. Kane hit a post. Montreal came back in with an attack. Couldn't get it past Fleury. Hawks couldn't get it past Montembeault. So we go to overtime. And in overtime, I hate it when Derek King sets it up, as I mentioned. DeBrincat, Kane, and Gustafsson comes out for the start of the overtime. So no centerman again to start an overtime. You should start a centerman with Kane or DeBrincat, not just DeBrincat, Kane, and Gustafsson. Go like Jonathan Taves, Kane, and Gustafsson. That will work better. You win the face-off, you come out with momentum. You lose the face-off, the Habs come in and start controlling play for about 2 minutes of the overtime. Hawks could not get the puck, and it led to momentum for the Habs, but they could not get shots off. So, the Hawks get control, they have a line change, and this happened. At 2:24 in the overtime, this guy had a great game tonight, a few opportunities, and he's rewarded. Scored by number 23, Philip Kurashev. His 3rd of the season, assisted by number 38, Brandon the Bagel Hagel. And number 56, Erik Gustafsson. Gustafsson gets the puck in the defensive zone, gets it up to Hagel. Hagel in the neutral zone sees Kurashev going in for an offensive break. He passes it across. And was it offside? Clear. It gets reviewed after. I'm going to have to talk about this. Kurashev gets the puck, goes in. The puck is bouncing on him. And both Kurashev and Mike Hoffman collide and go into Montembeault. The net comes off its moorings as the puck is sliding in. And, well, the puck still can count. Good goal. if the goal is off the moorings if the puck was slid in legally. It was. So that was reviewed, and well, Khrushchev on the bench hoping for a chance. This ref just calls it a good goal because it gets reviewed yet again for offsides. So, from what happened, Khrushchev gets the puck from Hagel. They wanted to determine if it was offside or not. Because Khrushchev was slightly on the line when the puck came to his stick, and the puck kind of bounced on his stick, but he was, when it got to a point where he had more control of it, he was offside. But his stick was still where it would have been in the neutral zone. He gets the puck and gets it and goes in. What they were trying to determine if the puck was on his stick. He had control when he was going in the offensive zone. So we get a good goal for Philip Khrushchev. This is his first overtime career goal, and it had to be reviewed twice. Longest delay to figure out a Hawks win. I have to admit, this was a strange way to end a game, but who cares? We get the victory. Down in the comments down below, I want to hear what your thoughts were on the Khrushchev goal, because that took a while for it to review. It took about like 5 minutes to review it. And I want to say this. Thank you for watching the broadcast. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And most of all, let's